Well, hello there. It is Monday, June 24th, and Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're going to be covering today. And rumors are abounding that Microsoft could be releasing a new dual screen or even foldable Surface device early next year. We'll give you the details on what that could entail. And then former astronaut Mike Massimino joins the show to talk about cookies. Yes, Mike will be talking about a new way to actually cook things in space with a special oven. And speaking of space, today is a very big day for SpaceX with the third launch of the Falcon Heavy scheduled, where they'll be proving their worth to the U.S. Air Force for the right to future missions. And everyone wants to get you into a flying taxi nowadays. And the Airbus-owned Vahana Craft released a video of a recent test flight showcasing how much closer they are to cutting down on your commute time. All that and more on today's Digital Trends Live. That is a beautiful day out there.
It is. It is. That is the city we live in.
Yes. These are the riveting comments that we have here. It is Monday, so shaking off the cobwebs a little bit. But yeah, that's not looking too bad. I will say I'm hoping somebody's going to comment on the chemtrails that you saw in there, though.
Yeah, theories.
We've got to have some 5G comments, some chemtrail comments. We'll see where it goes. We are on YouTube. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for finding us. However you find us, we really do appreciate it. Broadcasting live every weekday, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms, including LinkedIn Live, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Run, YouTube Live, and Daily Motion, Apple News, a number of different outlets, including our 2 different apps, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So if that's not all enough for you, let us know. We'll go wherever you are too. But thanks for finding us. We really do appreciate it. So drop in your comments, your questions, suggestions as we go through the show. We've got a lot to cover today. It's going to be a ton of fun. But first off, I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Hanif Jackson. Hello, Hanif.
Howdy, howdy. How's it going?
Doing well.
Good.
Good to see you here today.
Good to be here.
I'm seeing some comments coming through here right now since we are broadcasting live. This is on YouTube. Hello from India. People commenting on the bottomless coffee cup that starts off the show. It is indeed bottomless.
Yes. Never ending. That's the amount of coffee it takes for me to get started.
Yeah. It's a tremendous amount. It's in Hanif's contract. We're not allowed to really discuss it too much, but that is true. That is all his coffee that you saw there.
That's where all the budget goes.
All right, let's talk about some news. We have some tech news to get to you. So every day, we kind of take a look at what's trending, and this was one of the biggest trending stories right now because people want to know about what Microsoft is up to. And it's following along with rumors we've seen for quite a while that they might be getting into either a foldable screen or dual screen laptop or phone. This seems to be the trend for a number of manufacturers, but this has to do in particular with the Surface and some new rumors coming out that they might be releasing this even early next year. So to give you just kind of the base, and I want to know Hanif's opinion on this too, as well as everybody watching, the general idea is that it could be a Surface with a pair of 9-inch screens. That's a rendering of what a phone could possibly look like. That's the Andromeda phone that's rumored. This would be a Surface, 2 9-inch screens called possibly the Centaurus. That's the working title, I guess, as far as what it is. Again, these are all rumors, not officially confirmed, but that's what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, interesting. Like you said, it's kind of the trend now with a lot of manufacturers to put screens on just about every side of the device they can find, right?
Right.
Like before it was edge to edge or like the kind of wraparound OLED type deals. Now, like literally, they're trying to, if it can be bent, folded, or twisted in some kind of way, they're going to try to make that happen with the screen. So yeah, I think this is, like you said, just following that same trend that that everyone else is on right now.
Right, and at least from the manufacturing side, I'm curious from the consumer side, is this something that you want? Are you interested in this? Is this something that we want to get? And let us know what you think. So. Yeah, again, talking about the Centaurus one, and then Andromeda is the other part of that, and so that's the phone. Rumored that maybe they'd be getting back into the phone market too.
Oh boy, yeah. How'd that last Microsoft phone go?
Right, not so well. There was actually an interview with Bill Gates that came out. I was just reading a little bit of this before we started today, talking about how back in his biggest regret is that Microsoft wasn't able to take on Apple in the phone side of things. Just didn't work out. So maybe this would be their way back in with a foldable screen. But what do you think? Is this something that you want?
Me personally, no.
Yeah.
I don't really see a use case for me having it. I think my just regular phone kind of does everything that I need it to do in that regard, and my laptops and tablets and my wrist devices all kind of accomplish the same thing. So for me, I probably won't pick this one up, but
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, there's some people that have the need to have multiple screens on, multiple sides and the foldability of it. I guess that's what they're aiming for, right? It's the fact that it can
Right,
fold.
that it would fold up. Either the screen folds or more likely for this, with the Surface, it would just be 2 dual screens. You open it up and then you get 1 screen that way.
Interesting. So it's almost like you have that book-like feature for
the
like
book
e-readers.
feature.
Yeah.
My thing would be, how does the keyboard work? Because I need haptic feedback on the keyboard. Like I've got to I can't just type. It's not natural for me. It doesn't feel that great. Typing on.
Do you like physical keys versus like touch keys?
I'm fine with touch keys as long as the feedback is good.
There, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
As long as there's something coming back. But we'll have to see how that works and what it would look like. And again, these are rumors, but talking about whether or not Microsoft could come out with a dual screen Surface early next year. That's the rumor that's going on right now. Let us know what you think in the comments about how you feel about that. All right, we've got so much to cover here today. Let's go on to one of our next segments, and this is Read 'em and Weep, where we take a look.
So soon.
It's so soon. We're getting right into it. It's Monday. Let's just, bam, just
all right.
Let's see what people want to say.
I've had the coffee.
You've had the coffee. And this is our section here on Digital Trends Live, where we take a look at some of the comments that are posted across our many different platforms and articles. And this comes from Facebook regarding Facebook's crypto isn't a new Bitcoin. It's Disney dollars for a new world order. Simeon, Libra is the complete opposite of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is about decentralization of control, where Libra is about more centralization. Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
With Facebook, and in case you haven't followed up on Facebook's Libra, that is their attempt to create a cryptocurrency that you could use over Facebook's different platforms. They've got a lot of backing from a lot of different industries, but I think that's probably because they're like, well, okay, we have no choice on it. They end up having to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like cave or go elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the companies that are backing are kind of like, well, cave.
Yeah. So that's certainly, I can kind of see what you're talking about that with Simeon. So thank you for that comment. That comes on Facebook, and we're gonna be talking about crypto and Bitcoin actually here in just a little bit too. We've got more on that. So there we go. Simeon Alexandru. That's a solid name. Steve, regarding Sony X950G unboxing 7 setup, the best Sony TVs you might actually buy. This is like, oh boy, here it is. This is Read 'em and Weep. We'll take them. This is like watching a television commercial for 8 minutes. Goes to show stupid people still get paid to get things wrong on TV, i.e. weathermen. Wow.
Whoa.
Dang. Okay, so I'm going to guess.
Salty.
I'm going to guess this was probably Caleb.
I think Steve probably lives in Portland. Like, I could understand the weatherman hate. You
Yeah.
know? Like, every time they say it's about 30% chance of rain, which is pretty much 100% chance of rain here in Portland. So, yeah, sorry, Steve.
Yeah. Steve, yeah, thanks very much there. I'm gonna have to ask Caleb on that. So it's a television review and an unboxing for 8 minutes, but apparently it was not good enough.
Yeah, well, we try. We do our best.
Yeah, well, there we go. We'll let Caleb know. There's going to be a meeting called today, so thank you, Steve. We'll make sure that this gets addressed immediately. All right, let's go to Ron. Regarding DT Live, Robot Fish is powered by battery blood. Catch and release only. Ron, that's solid. That's a solid dad joke for the day to start Monday off.
We need more comments like Ron's.
I can definitely, I can see how that's working. Ron, thank you very much. Again, this is Read 'em and Weep. This is our section here where we take a look at some of the comments that come through across our many different platforms. And I want to thank everybody who's watching live right now. We've got a great YouTube audience who's joining us right now, giving us some amazing comments that are coming through on there. And thanks everybody for joining. This is Digital Trends Live regarding Paco, regarding these are the best digital parenting devices on the market. So smart home devices, I was expecting a robot nanny. Hashtag snoozefest.
Oh,
I'm incorporating that into more posts.
Yeah, so I think the core of Paco's comment here is that we're just not as far along as we thought that we might be, right?
Yeah.
Like the Jetsons kind of had us all fooled. We thought that we might have that robot nanny by now. We don't, and I'm kind of with Paco on this one. Like, we're lagging a little bit. We need to pick it up.
Yeah, hashtag snoozefest.
That's right.
Yeah, there it is. Paco, thank you for letting us know. And we do appreciate, like I said, the comments, wherever they come from. And thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. Jeremy, regarding this device can lift spilled sauce off a surface without changing its shape. 1972, I bet we'll have flying cars in the future. 2019, this device will pick up the sauce you spill.
Yep.
Solid, Jeremy. And that is true. We do need our flying cars. I'm a little bit still upset about that.
I agree with Jeremy as well. Same sentiment.
Yeah. So Jeremy, nailed it. That was a solid out on that one. And again, that's Read 'em and Weep. So every day here, we take a look at some of the comments and questions that come through across our platforms, and we address them directly. We talk to you directly, and we'll take those comments.
We're here for the people.
That's exactly it, and we'll say something back. All right. Let's continue on, taking a look at some of the headlines here to start the show off today, some of the trending stories that are going on. This has to do, again, with another rumor, but still something that I think is kind of interesting and I could see potentially being a thing. It has to do with Amazon and a patent that's been revealed that they are patenting, they want to patent their drones for surveillance. So we all know that they want to make, yeah, already that's like, it's a little bit unnerving. So we know that Amazon's been working on delivery drones. That's not a secret. They revealed or unveiled a few weeks ago. They showcased one of their drones actually doing a fake delivery. Showcased it in the field there, saying, "Look, we're close." They don't have approval yet from the FCC, but still, well, the FCC or the FAA, either one. Right. I don't think the FAA is probably more important on that, but they don't have approval yet. So that's showcasing what it would look like. This is thinking past that. Once they're able to deliver the packages, they want to also turn these drones into a surveillance-like service where you could rent them for a service for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rentable spy cams.
Rentable spy cams.
Seems normal.
Yeah, yeah, totally normal. Nothing weird here at all. But that's in theory what it would how
So
it would
is this
work.
just for Amazon subscribers, I wonder? Like, so if you have Amazon Prime, now do you get free drone access too?
Right,
and
yeah.
then what about the people that don't have Amazon at all? Do they get any say-so in like who gets to look at their crib?
Well, that's important, yeah, because there's a little bit on that, and they talked about how they could handle that. In that, if somebody, you could rent this drone, in theory, you could rent it by, by the hour, by the day, or by the week, or something like that. Maybe get a subscription service where a drone's looking over your house, and they said that they're part of this is also some patented technology that would be able to blur out other houses.
Okay, so maybe like if you weren't on their subscriber list, your house might get blurred or something.
Yeah, that it could blur it out so that way I couldn't see it. But what do you think about this? How do you feel about surveillance drone? And if everybody starts getting surveillance drones,
again, this is that murky area of privacy concern and data usage, data acquisition. Like, what are they doing with all of this information that they're getting?
Yeah.
And then the fact that they're kind of like almost like crowdsourcing their acquisition by allowing people to go and surveil by renting these things, right? So that's kind of almost like you're doing their bidding without you even realizing it. And that being said, we're already at that stage. So. This is just the next step in that evolution. So watch out, it's coming.
yeah, and this is.
I don't want to sound like all doom and gloom, but for those of us that are in the kind of conspiracy kind of side of things, this is getting hot right now.
Not what you want to see. Yeah. So a part of the other apparent parts of this patent, and again, this is a patent that Amazon filed for their drones to use them as surveillance, like a service, like you would rent them. So I think it would be adapting their current drones, and even by this patent, they show it making a delivery. And then once it's there, be like, you know what? We'll just hang out for a while, make sure that you get your package, or make sure that nobody's breaking into your house. They could have it monitor for broken windows. In theory, that could be a good thing, especially if you're in an area where there's frequent break-ins. It seems like there's a lot of steps to just solve this problem, but I don't know. Maybe this is going to be a cheap way to do it, cheap way to handle it. Like, hey, we'll deliver the package, but for an extra $10, we'll stick around until you get home too.
We'll watch the front driveway and your neighbors possibly on accident.
Yeah. Let's see. Taking a look. There's a lot of people here that are commenting about this, just how they would feel about it. The other part there with that photo editing software where it would do real time or onboard, it would blur out the neighbors' houses, somebody who wasn't in there, and they said they would use some kind of a geofencing, probably using Google Maps to map it out, and then.
Yeah, and then I kind of glanced at the article. It said that they would use something to like physically restrict the sensors, which to me, I don't know, what does that mean? You have like what, like literally like a limiting screw or something that physically says like the sensor can't turn a certain rotation. I don't know, but I'm not sure how they're limiting that. And just by physically limiting a sensor doesn't mean that it's not capturing things within that sensor's purview. And if they're not supposed to be capturing those things.
I picture it like in a horse race, when they put the blinders on so the horse can't see anything.
Exactly.
It's just the drone will have like a cone on it so it can't see anything past the other side. That's how that'll solve it. A drone cone. Hashtag. Okay. But
man, you're on.
It's just, we're nailing it here. So many businesses are forming out of this show. Take a look here at some of the comments that are coming through again across our platforms, and a lot of people discussing it, talking about where they see it. George says, "Alexa, please add milk and surveying my neighbors to my shopping list." Yeah, that's hey, this could be if we're just all gonna have to get used to it. I guess everybody's watching everybody, and then
hey,
that's it.
We already share everything in it now anyway. Why not?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just do it. Well, that is the rumor that is going on. Amazon perhaps setting up their future Prime delivery drones that they say could launch later next year, but then down the road, maybe having them available for surveillance as well, surveillance as a service. Let us know what you think about that. Continuing on, as we go through Digital Trends Live here, bringing you up to date on some of the tech headlines and news. There's this: if you own Bitcoin, if you own any amount of Bitcoin, it's a good day for you. Bitcoin just rose up to over $11,000 per coin, and that's up 170% for the year. And there is speculation on why that's happening. That the speculation has to do with Facebook getting into the game.
Yep.
With all of this Facebook announcements.
So this kind of circles back to what we were talking about earlier with Libra in that comment. And this is, I think, a direct response to that. I don't see it being anything other than that. That's significant, especially for something that only a few years ago was considered kind of ethereal and fake and not almost like fake currency, but as we all know now, it's real. It's very real, very legit, and it's very expensive. So shout out to Bitcoin.
I mean, for anybody who owns Bitcoin, I mean, this is a pretty big turnaround, and it's been so volatile. I mean, a few years ago, I think I was taking a look at it just to kind of get the actual numbers, but I believe it was end of 2017. It was up to almost $20,000 per coin. Then it had this dramatic drop, ended up going back down to like 3,000 something, and then now back up to just above 11,000, at least as of when I checked this before we started. And so that's a lot of swing. Like, you can't really build a stable currency off something like that.
And then say Libra doesn't take off or Libra fails or whatever, does it go back down again? In
what would happen with
response
Libra?
to its failure? So it's kind of hard to say. I don't know that I'm ready to invest, but it would be cool to have some, just to say that I had some.
It'd be great to have some. Yeah, I mean, I'll take some. But with the Libra side of it, I think that's part of what and this is definitely a question for people who are watching live. Do you trust Facebook in this? With Libra, what they're saying they want to create is just a stable coin. That's why they have all these other companies and banking institutions that are going to be a part of it to try to create something that's not going to be volatile. It's going to be tied to the US dollar and the euro and I think a couple other stable currencies. So where you don't have this, within 2 years, you're going from $20,000 to 3,000 to 11,000 where it's all over the board. Because you just can't build anything off of that.
Right.
But this could be it where it's starting to level out, maybe because of Facebook Libra, maybe Bitcoin will level out and we'll have something pretty stable on that. Either way, I still want to own one, but I'm not going to pay $11,000. By the way, Drew Prindle once told a story about he used to own a few of these, and I'll make sure and ask him how he feels about it.
Yeah, he still works here, right?
No, he sold them for like $100. Here's a whole story about that.
I haven't seen him around the office lately.
That's true. Wondering. He's on vacation. Maybe he owns one of these.
Maybe he took off.
Well, that is the story on Bitcoin. So again, up over $11,000 as of earlier this morning, but more of a bigger picture, taking a look at how cryptocurrency is affecting the economy, where it's going to be going with Facebook getting into the game. Things are definitely going to change for good or worse, or it's changing regardless. So we got to think about how that's going to look going forward. All right, continuing on with our news headlines, we have one more thing here, and there's a lot to unravel, I feel like, with this one, and it has to do with SpaceX once again making a launch. I know it feels like they make launches every single day. They don't. But this is a pretty big one, and it has to do with the Falcon Heavy, and this is the STP-2 launch, and they're launching a few things. Actually, I'll kind of cover a little bit of what they're launching, but one of the biggest ones is this Air Force mission. It's known as STP-2, and it's if they're able to do this, so it's launching some specific things for the Air Force for future security missions, and if they get certified, then this would be essentially they would be the go-to people.
So the Air Force would pick them. Basically.
The Air Force would pick them.
Yeah, that's
meaning
that's
funding,
huge.
money, everything for years.
That's huge. That is a gigantic deal. I mean, isn't that kind of? Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure the chat will as well. But the infant days of NASA, isn't that kind of how it started? Was just a kind of a ragtag put together thing by private people, and then the government got involved. I don't know. Look, I think this is only going to lead to bigger and better things for space exploration.
Yeah.
And for things here on the ground. A lot of the science that happens up there directly comes back to us, like, GPS that we use to find our way to work every day, started out of that. So, yeah, I think this is just a great, this is going to get us closer to those robot nannies that Paco was mentioning earlier. So.
And that's what the ultimate goal is the robot nannies. I think we all know that.
But in all seriousness, I think, this space race, that, if you want to call it that, is going to lead to bigger and better things for us, I think.
Yeah. And with this one, a few other things. So this is the first time the Falcon Heavy. So the previous one that just went up about a month ago or so was the Falcon 9 that sent up 60 satellites, part of their effort to create Starlink, which is internet satellite, a whole bunch of things. That was the Falcon 9. This is the Falcon Heavy. So this is the big one. This is the one that the biggest rocket on the planet. Right now, and
it's a big bird.
It's a big one, yeah. And so they did send it up in April. They send up a satellite in April. This time, though, they're sending multiple. They've got 24 satellites packed into the rocket's nose cone, making it the first time that it's carried more than one. So this is their first attempt with that. They want to land, of course, all three parts of this rocket to get it back. This is reusing pieces. It's actually the first time they've reused some of the pieces on this one. So there's a lot riding on this. This is actually a really big deal for the future of space travel and where it's going to be going. If this is successful, I mean, it further proves that they're on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to see this succeed for all the reasons I said earlier.
Yeah.
This is gonna, if they can, especially get hitched with the military, the Air Force. That's all the innovation that can come out of that, I think, is going to be a good thing. So
yeah, a couple of other things that are going to be riding up with it, in addition to the Air Force satellites, are an atomic clock built by NASA. So an atomic clock, and actually that's going to be pretty big. So the atomic clock can actually help regulate when you're out in space, regulate everything for timing of rockets. They said it could affect, future lunar missions, future Mars missions, to make sure everything's tracking and timing right. It's a big deal. So there's that. There's that's going to be going up there, the atomic clock. And then also the Light Sail 2 from the Planetary Society.
Yeah, that's from our friend Mr. Nye.
Mr. Bill Nye.
Mr. Bill Nye, the science guy.
Yeah, and we've got a great article at Digital Trends right now, an interview with Bill Nye talking about what this is and how they're looking at the future of space travel. And again, all this is ultimately going to affect us. It's just like Hanif said, even if it's just tech we don't understand now, that's going to filter back down to us.
It may not make sense because it's all kind of seems very techy and outer space.
Yeah.
But it's all going to have impacts for us here on Earth.
Yeah.
So, keep a lookout.
Yeah, and the one other thing, among the things that they have going up to, also the cremated remains of 152 people.
Oh.
So there's a company called Celestis Memorial where you can have yourself sent up into space. So there's 152 little capsules, and then they have like inscriptions, and then it's just, you're in space
what?
now.
People capsules?
People capsules.
Yeah.
People capsules.
Okay.
No, it's like cremated remains. But that is also part of what's going up there. So that is Celestis Memorial Space Flights. It's a one-way trip. So that's, again, just kind of bringing you up to date on what's going on with that. So that flight, the SpaceX rocket launch, is scheduled for today at 8:30 p.m., and that's when we think that it's going to happen, or that's when their window opens. If that doesn't launch then they'll push it back to another date. But we'll have a live stream, I believe, going here from Digital Trends as well to keep up with that. And speaking of space, we've got a very, very special guest who's going to be joining us here in just a second. I'll tell you who that is after I say thank you to Hanif.
Hey, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Hanif,
Yeah,
for being
anytime.
here. This is fun. We love broadcasting live and talking to everybody as we go through. And since we are live, I can take questions, and I can give those to other people as well. And you might want to ask a question for our next guest. We have former astronaut Mike Massimino, who is going to be joining us here on the show. Mike is going to be here talking about baking in space. Yes, baking in space. Talking about ways that, you know, the more we start sending people up into space, we need to make it comfortable. We need to have good food. That kind of actually helps out a lot. So he's going to talk about baking cookies in space.
Of course.
I am in to listen to whatever Mike wants to talk about. All of that is coming up.
Hopefully he can send us samples.
I would like that. Yes, space cookies, please. So all of that, we've got lots of interviews, lots more to cover here during the day, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Mike right here on Digital Trends Live. And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, we broadcast live every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, news, and interviews about some pretty amazing things. And since we're live, we can take your comments and questions as we go through. If you watch this show a lot, you know we talk about space travel, the future of space travel, where it's going with space tourism. We have these commercial entities getting involved. We've got SpaceX, which is launching actually pretty soon with their Falcon Heavy rocket and all kinds of things with that. But we need to talk about the people in space, what it's going to be like, where does it go, how does it go in the future? And we have somebody who is a perfect expert to be talking about that right now. We have joining us Mike Massimino. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for being on here. I think you were on here a couple of months ago, but you were in a car driving around to some secret location.
Oh, it wasn't a secret location. It was a Long Island Expressway.
Okay.
That was in, Listen, we could. That's right. I think, what were we talking about? I can't even remember. I think it was a landing on Mars.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah, I think that's what it was,
Yeah,
All right, this is a more comfortable environment to be doing that in than the Long Island Expressway.
Well, let's talk about what you got there today, because I can see it behind you. And, you know, it's something that I actually hadn't thought about, what it's like living up there in space and what you eat. I mean, let's talk about maybe what is it currently like? Like, what are meals like in space currently?
Meals are pretty good. Similar, a lot of things we get on Earth we can get in space are just packaged differently. We have dehydrated food. You add water to, and we had things like spaghetti and meatballs, shrimp cocktail, things like that. You also have meals ready to eat, which are thermostabilized with a long shelf life. You just warm those up. Things like lasagna, fajitas, hamburger, stuff like that. You can warm those items up in a food warmer or a convection oven, and that's worked pretty good. It's great, but we've never been able to take raw ingredients and bake them in space. All that stuff that we've had so far has been cooked on the ground on Earth, shipped up to space, and then just reheated. So this is what we're excited about now, is this new technology, a new oven that allows us to cook or bake in space by this company's called Zero G Kitchen. And they've worked with another company called NanoRex to integrate it into the International Space Station. We're going to now be able to take raw ingredients and bake them, cook them in space. And the first thing that's going to be cooked is a chocolate chip cookie.
Nice. Well, I want to talk about the technology behind it and how it works actually for this zero G oven. But let's just kind of answer this too. Why is it important to be able to cook with raw ingredients in space?
Well, as we venture further off into our exploration with people to beyond the space station, we're going to need ways to be able to provide food and water and safety, breathing air. Of course, food is a big part of that, and we're not going to be able to cook everything ahead of time and bring it. It's not going to work. Stuff's not going to stay fresh for as long as we'd like. We need to find ways to be able to grow food along the way, and we've done those experiments on the International Space Station successfully so far, and be able to grow plants like lettuce that we can eat. And we also want to be able to cook while on our way as well. I think this is pretty vital to our ability to travel long distances and not to have everything ready to go. That's really infeasible. We're going to have to be able to grow food, make food, prepare food, cook along the way. So I think it's important for that. I think that food is more than just food in space. And I think it is to some extent on the ground as well, but particularly when you're in an extreme environment away from home, it serves not only to give you nourishment, but also to give you this sense of comfort, of community, of sharing a meal with someone, of reminding you from home when you're away. And that's why I think in this case, a chocolate chip cookie is a pretty good choice for that. Particularly, I'm happy about partnering with DoubleTree from Hilton on this project because it's the same exact cookie that they serve in the hotels. You're traveling around the world. I always find it very comforting to enter the hotel and see those chocolate chip cookies there waiting. Reminds me of home, makes me feel at home, feel comforted, even though I might be in a place I've never been to before, an unfamiliar place. Now, space is like the extreme experience in that regard, being away from home. So I think that having these cookies available to space travelers, I think is going to be meaningful, not only to give you some food to eat, but also to give you that comfort when you're away from home.
I think that you're right. It's almost like it's baked into our DNA, so to speak. For comfort food, to have that as part of just our experience, and especially in space, if you're out there like that, you want something comforting.
It's not just to keep you going to do it really is the mission. You can eat stuff from tubes for a little bit of time, but after a while, it's not good for morale. And I think this is the next step. There is not having things you can just warm up, but also having things that you can actually cook.
So talking about these DoubleTree by Hilton, these chocolate chip cookies and this zero G oven, let's talk about the tech behind it. How do we make this happen up there?
Well, the oven is provided by Zero G Kitchen. The material, the ingredients are going to be pre-mixed. So it's the same recipe, the same exact cookie that is supplied at the hotel. It's going to be pre-mixed ingredients, which is good because it makes it easier on the astronauts. And you want to try to, no matter what you're doing, you're designing something for space travel, you want to make it astronaut proof. So they'll be taking that dough and putting it into the oven. It'll actually bake. We're not exactly sure how all that's going to work. We expect it to work just fine. We expect the experiment to be successful, but we're really not sure of the effect of zero gravity is going to have on the baking process. Excuse me.
No worries. Yeah, I'm taking a look at it right now as we see, how it looks like it's perfectly easily set up. Like you said, it's astronaut proof. So you can throw in your ingredients, have it ready to go. And so this is going to be going up on a rocket here pretty soon. Is that right? Like I think next month, I believe, is when it's scheduled for.
Yeah, it's scheduled before the end of the year.
Okay.
With space launches, you're not always exactly sure when they're going to happen, but the plan is to have it launched sometime this fall. That'll be the oven and the ingredients will be launched on a cargo ship up to the space station. I think they'll set it up as soon as they get this stuff because that's what they normally do in space. You get the experiment going, get the new piece of equipment set up, and they're also going to be motivated to see how the cookies turn out. But there's also, I think, the educational research aspect of this. We've never baked anything, never cooked anything in space before. And so it's a research project. I think the cookie is a good test case. I think it'll be leading us to doing other items, food items in space, cooking more in space, but really not sure how it's going to turn out. What are the differences? Then the major difference that we have between space and Earth is the lack of gravity in space. And so we're not sure how that's going to affect the cooking process. I think my prediction is that the cookie's going to be a bit fluffier, maybe a little bit bigger, puffier than what we have on space, because it doesn't have gravity affecting the baking process. But we'll see. And I think it's going to be some important information, not only for the cookie cooking, but also for what other things we might prepare and cook in space long term in the future.
I was going to say it could be actually better than it is down here. If it can cook from all sides like that as it's floating around.
You know, I'd have to tell you, Greg, just about everything is better in space, man. So why should baking a cookie and eating it in space be any different? Yeah, I think it's going to be better. And there's a lot to this. I know you like to get into the details of things, and we have limited time. But for your viewers to learn more, for you to learn more, for all of us to learn more about this and to keep up with the project, they can go to cookiesinspace.com to track it and learn more about it.
Cookiesinspace.com. So go there, take a look, follow along. And Mike, it's always so nice to have you here on the show. Like anytime you want to join, let us know.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not driving in my car down the Long Island Expressway this time. Much more comfortable. So thanks for having me back.
Definitely. All right, Mike Massimino, thank you very much. So cookiesinspace.com, take a look at everything that they're doing. All right, that is so great. Again, you're watching Digital Trends Live. That's always so much fun for me, and I hope it's fun for you too. But really, really cool. Talking about the future of space travel, and it is so important, to have good food up there. And that is somebody who is an expert. That's a former astronaut. The guy's worked on the Hubble Space Telescope a couple of times. I mean, he's done spacewalks. He knows what he's talking about. And we have all kinds of experts that join us here on Digital Trends. Coming up next, we have Davin Matthews, who is our photography editor, to talk about some of the things that he has found that he wants to bring you up to date on in the world of photography. So he'll be joining us after this break. We're broadcasting live on a number of platforms. So drop in your comments, your questions. Back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And this is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for finding us. Hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're watching on. That way you make sure you get the notifications when we do go live. But also, we're at digitaltrends.com/live, so you can join in our chat there or on whatever platform you're on. We just thank you for joining. It's so much fun. Lots to talk about. And right now, we're going to be talking about photography. And we've got joining us Davin Matthews. Hello, Davin.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good. Usually you're here in studio with me, and I know you're off in the world somewhere on some photography adventure.
Yeah. So I kind of got stuck up in the San Juan Islands. I'd never been there before, and I didn't exactly reserve a ferry back. So
yep.
I got on the last one, which leaves at 10 p.m. and takes 2 hours to get back to the mainland. So yeah, I was not making it back to Portland last night.
Well, you're here with us now. So
but it was a great opportunity to shoot some photos. So.
I was going to say, yeah, there it is. So it makes it a work trip. Well, let's talk about a couple of these things that you wanted to bring up today too. So what do we want to go to first?
Yeah, so let's take a look. I was sent 2 lenses from Sigma. These are their 2 newest art series lenses. So they're really high-end lenses that are competing with like the professional line that Canon or Nikon would make. They sent me a 28 millimeter. This has an aperture of f1.4, and they sent me a 40 millimeter with also aperture of f1.4 And they had to send me one in Nikon mount and one in Canon mount. So I've got a Nikon D850 and a Canon 5D Mark IV. You know, sometimes this job is okay. But basically, just a little background on Sigma is that they used to kind of be this budget lens brand, right? So it's like you couldn't afford the Nikon 50 millimeter or whatever, you would buy the Sigma one. And now they've kind of reinvented themselves, and they've started producing these really good high-end lenses with really like best-in-class optics inside of them. And so these two are kind of pushing into even beyond where the first generation of these art series lenses were going. So they are a bit more expensive. They're both about $1,300 or $1,399 actually, and that's a little more expensive than some of the earlier art lenses were.
Right.
So they're definitely not, these are for your either experienced enthusiasts or your professional shooters. But in the case of the 28 millimeter, that is still cheaper than the Nikon equivalent, which is about $1,800 MSRP.
So with Sigma, getting into this, how's the quality compared to Nikon? I mean, I know you said that usually made the more budget-oriented lenses.
And that, I mean, it's very good.
Really?
And this, a few years ago when they started this line, that was very surprising to see that I was like, wow, Sigma actually made a good lens. Like, what's happening? Now we're kind of numb to it. And I've reviewed a handful of Sigma art lenses, and everyone has been astonishing. So I really was not surprised to see that these ones were also very good. And I think they are pushing up in that higher price tier, which is maybe going to limit them a little bit compared to their first generation models that came out below $1,000. But I do think it's worth it for the right user. I mean, these are very good lenses. The 28 millimeter is beautiful. That's probably my favorite between these two. The 40 millimeter is technically very good. It's also a heck of a lot bigger, and it's kind of a weird focal length. Like we don't see 40 millimeter lenses very often. So it's interesting they decided to do that. And it's almost as if they're just trying to hit every possible focal length. They've got 24, 28, 35, 40, 50. So it's a little weird, but it does allow you to really get exactly the angle of view you might need for a certain shot. One thing they did tell me about these lenses is that they were built with sort of the cinema standards and demands of that world. So even though these are still camera lenses, optically they were designed with cinema in mind, and they are going to roll out actual cinema lens housings for them.
Wow. So I'm taking a look at this, as we're looking at these two different lenses here, again from Sigma. They're more expensive than they were before. But what else? So you mentioned the cinema side of it. So what are we talking about with that? Like talking about actual movie production, more commercial production? What are we saying with that?
Yeah. So that would be like they're preparing for that higher end cinema market, and these are full frame lenses. And I think that's one of the interesting things looking at that 40 millimeter focal length. Is not a very common full frame focal length. But if you put that lens on a cinema camera, which typically uses what's called a Super 35 sensor, which is actually, it's confusing. It's smaller than 35 millimeter full frame sensors, which are the still photo sensors. So if you put that on a cinema camera, it would become a 60 millimeter equivalent, which is kind of a more common focal length to get there. But I mean, they're absolutely beautifully made. So I didn't shoot any video with them, but I can imagine they would work very well.
We did get a question. Are they full frame?
Yes. Yeah, they are full frame.
They're full frame. Okay, great. So they're full frame. And then again, these are the Sigma. We've got the 28 millimeter and the 40 millimeter that are both out. And they're both out right now, or both available?
They are both out now. So I believe you can order them now for Canon, Nikon, and Sony E-mount. And then Sigma's part of the new L-mount alliance, so they'll be producing these as well in L-mount for the new Panasonic S-series full-frame cameras. That mount isn't available yet, but I believe the other three are.
How much have you been shooting with these all weekend?
Yeah, and then a couple shorter days before that. Yeah.
And so, when will the reviews and your images go up?
Hopefully, hopefully I'll get at least one done and published by the end of this week.
After not being stuck on a ferry for
Yeah. Also, the check engine light came on in my car, which.
Sweet.
So I might not make it home. I don't know.
This is where you live now. So
Yeah.
you've got an internet connection. We're good.
Right.
Well, Davin, thank you once again, for joining us and figuring out how to get here on the show today to talk about that. I appreciate it. At digitaltrends.com, you can check out all of Davin's articles, everything that we're covering, including these coming up here at some point. We'll have this thing where one's on, but it's nice to know where we're at with it. So, Davin, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Good to see you.
All right, Davin Matthews there, photography editor here at Digital Trends, making that effort no matter where he's at through ferry rides and cars that stop working, still made it here for Digital Trends Live. We thank everybody else who's made it here today. Broadcasting live again, we've got lots of stuff for you. We always cover so many different articles, different things that are going on in the world of tech, and different interviews that we bring you. We try to keep you up to date on a lot of different aspects. Coming up next, we have Bill Ottman, the CEO and founder of Minds.com. We talked a lot about cryptocurrency earlier. How about crypto social network? I'll just leave that there. We're going to have Bill explain what that is. All that's coming up here with more on Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. Again, hit that subscribe button wherever you find us. That way you get notifications when we do go live, because it's every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. That way you can hop in here, join us in the chat on whatever platform you are in. I'm Greg Nibbler, and certainly cryptocurrency, blockchain, all of those topics are very big in the world of tech right now, and seeing where it's all going to end up. But what about crypto social? We're going to talk about that right now. Joining us, we have the CEO and visionary behind Minds.com. It is Bill Ottman. Hello, Bill.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm really interested to talk about this concept and what it is that Minds.com can do. Just kind of give us a little bit of background. Can you tell us how you got into this and maybe a little bit of your story leading up to this?
Sure. So, I've always thought that there was inevitably going to emerge some sort of fully transparent, encrypted, reward-based social network that actually puts the users first, as opposed to, probably last in line. And because people sort of have a hunger for transparency, with any of the mainstream social networks, we have no transparency into their source code. We don't know what's going on with the algorithms. We have no idea. And so in the same way that like WordPress and Wikipedia rose up as open source, transparent alternatives to some of these other platforms, it's happening with Bitcoin as well. It's like open source, decentralized money, or it's actually more than money. It's a whole new infrastructure for the web potentially.
Yeah, it's certainly, and I feel like every industry is kind of getting into it in some aspect or trying to figure out how to embrace it. And you're right, with social networks right now, that privacy concern is just so huge, and we know that all of our data is getting sold, and the security of even storing that information, let alone before it gets sold, is something that everybody's questioning. And this seems like this might be a way to help solve some of that.
For sure. I think what really hit the nail on the head for me was when you say you have 100,000 followers on Facebook. Only 5% of those followers are even seeing your post organically now. It used to be a much higher percentage than that. And that basic communication blockade is, I mean, it's essentially, that's the core use case of social media. I post, you see it. You post, I see it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that that is no longer the case, I think is really destructive to people's ability to communicate. And so what we've done is inversed it, and we say, okay, you'll get 100% organic reach forever. Just we're never going to make algorithms default. And then beyond that, the Minds token, which is an Ethereum-based ERC20 token, you earn those for your contributions every day to the network, engagement that you receive, referrals that you make, and then you can use them for various rewards on the network. Like one token will give you 1,000 extra impressions on your content when you boost with it. So it's like, rather than suppressing the voices, expand the voices. Mm-hmm. And that is really becoming pretty effective. I mean, people with even medium-sized followings are actually finding an easier time getting engagement on Minds than on some of the big networks. And even though, we're only coming on a couple million users, the fact that you can reach everybody and have this vent out of the void is really, I don't know, it's having a little bit of an impact.
I want to walk through how that works from your company side, but before that, just talking about on the consumer side. So somebody goes there, they sign up for an account with Minds.com, and how does the interaction? It's like a standard social network, where you friend people or connect in some way, and then
yep.
Where does the blockchain come involved, and how does that work?
So we have an ERC20 token, which is running on the Ethereum blockchain. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you can create essentially a microeconomy with that. We didn't take any tokens as founders. Everyone's on an equal playing field, and basically whoever generates the most engagement on the network, that's sort of quote unquote mines the token. And so the people bringing that traffic and that energy get rewarded, and then it can be used to send peer to peer. You can subscribe to other accounts on recurring bases and offer rewards in sort of a crowdfunding system. And it's weird with all the big networks, they're sort of becoming the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you have video, you have feeds, you have Messenger. These kinds of things are just expected. But the problem is that it's done backwards on all of the big networks. And I think that there's huge shifts that can happen, and we're already seeing it happen. I mean, and you're even seeing Facebook get into crypto now, as distorted as it is.
Right. Yeah, Facebook's getting into it, and they're bringing along everybody else because they can see there's a future in it. They need to get involved, but you've already kind of got the social network side figured out. So, talking about with Minds.com, how's the acceptance been with the tech community? You've got your users on there, but how's everybody else reacting to it?
I think that we're seeing constant, slow, steady, organic growth. I mean, we don't spend money on advertising. And we all, especially not surveillance-based advertising, which most of the web is powered on. So it would be a little bit hypocritical of us to go buy a bunch of Google ads when Google's spying on everyone with that. So we're creating actually a privacy-based ad technology, because ads are neutral, depending on, as long as they're not exploiting the viewers. So we're working on that, but we're also not dipping into people's address books in the same way that the big networks did. They essentially, tricked you and us to give up our friends' privacy. Our friends didn't consent to having all of their information given to this network, but it sort of slipped through the cracks, and they achieved these network effects in sort of a manipulative way. And so it's all about consent-based systems. So it makes it a little bit harder, but I think on a long-term basis, it's going to be more sustainable.
And talking about that sustainability, going forward, how, as a company, you mentioned that you'll have ads. Like, how do you, on the company side, maintain this?
Sure, yeah. So we basically, the tokens act as fuel for the different services on the network. So you can earn tokens or buy them, and you can use them to get advertising. You can do advertising campaigns. You can send peer-to-peer to other users. You can do a premium account, which gives more storage and different perk features. And you can actually also launch a node of the whole app. Anyone can take our code and make their own social network. So and then you can actually create decentralized services between the nodes. And we're working on ways to incentivize running your own app, and developers are incentivized by this to just be running the system and contributing code and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess I've got two questions in there. Talking about the developer side, like how can developers get involved? You said they can spin off and create their own, and is that encouraged by Minds, or that's just something they can do?
Yeah, it's gitlab.com/minds. So all of our code is there for free for anyone to use. It's a AGPL v3 license, which is general public license, but essentially it says anyone can take it, do whatever they want with it, monetize it, make their own, but everyone has to share their changes with the whole community. So it sort of propels the innovation as opposed to, these different proprietary licenses, which sort of stifle innovation. And it's weird how Facebook is behaving because, their main app is all proprietary closed source. You can't see what's going on. But actually certain components of Libra and obviously like React Native frameworks that Facebook has developed, parts of it are open source. So they're actually very aware of what they're keeping hidden, what they're keeping transparent, because they actually want the developer communities to help with the infrastructural components of the stack. But it's almost worse that they know this, because then they're just so obviously keeping the front, the fancy stuff secret from everybody.
Yeah. Well, another question that came up, talking about just the user experience and people posting. And this is also something that we see with social networks, especially lately. We have YouTube, being investigated for different posts on their site, or, Facebook, clearly with different people posting on there. How do you propose to manage that? Or will there be any regulation of what people post? Or what's your philosophy on that end?
For sure. Yeah. So this is probably one of the biggest topics. We have a free expression based policy. So as long as it's legal and it's not inciting true threats of violence or harassment or doxing, those types of things, we just rolled out a jury system to essentially help the community, have the community help us moderate everything. So the first rollout of the jury system is that if a user feels that we've made a mistake on maybe something being flagged NSFW, so it gets a blur over it, that they can appeal it to the community, and then a randomized flash jury of 12 active users will get prompted to ask if they want to participate in a vote on that content. And it's been working really well. We've, some of our decisions have been overturned. Most of them have been accepted. But we can eventually move that to the initial report decision. So, we've really taken a lot of time to create granular content control so you don't have to see what you don't want to see. But what we know now is that censorship causes increased radicalization and polarization. So even though there's a knee-jerk reaction to, that super offensive, horrible content, should just get taken away, you actually have to look at the network effects of what happens when you do that. It just goes and pops up on another network, and it can even make the speech ultimately worse. And there have been dozens of studies on this type of research, even showing that it can cause violence. So we have to sort of balance the knee-jerk reaction with, the reality of the data about censorship. And it's an experimental process, but I think that we have come up with a pretty unique approach to it, which the community is enjoying. And I think that the arbitrary policies on the big networks are really bothering people. Like, from Tumblr to Instagram, I mean, there will be ancient art that will get censored on Instagram because of some AI picking it up, and it has to have a nude statue or something.
Right.
That's just not how the mainframe communication networks of the planet need to be operating. It needs to be more nuanced and contextual than that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting idea to put it to the more like peer-to-peer judging, where they take a look at it and be like, no, that is offensive. One of those things, if you see it, you know it, and then go on from there and have people actually participate in the process. That's certainly a lot different than anybody else. It's fascinating. I know we're running out of time, so this is a really interesting thing that you've taken on to create. I mean, that's starting from the ground up, and it's a very competitive landscape that you're in, but it sounds like you've got something really unique here. So if somebody wants to join Minds, what's the best way?
Yeah, minds.com or apps. You can go to minds.com/mobile to get the app directly from us. It's on the stores as well, though. And yeah, I mean, I just encourage people to, not just with Minds, but all different open source, transparent, privacy focused apps, start integrating those into your routines. It's hard to kind of, get off the drug addiction of the proprietary networks, but even just something simple as like using Firefox or Brave or Tor, as opposed to Edge or Safari or Chrome, that makes a difference in terms of the metrics that are building these new companies. So it's, the micro movements are actually really powerful, even though it doesn't really seem like it's having an effect.
So everybody does have an effect, even if it does seem like you're just one person, it does, as a whole, it has an effect. Well, this is fascinating conversation, and I want to say thank you so much for joining us here today. And so minds.com, go there, take a look, and sign up. I'll be signing up. I'm definitely going to be giving it a shot, trying that out, because I think that's a really, really interesting concept. And Bill, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's minds.com/Ottman, OTTMAN, if you want to reach out. Cheers.
There it is. All right. Again, so fun to learn about. So this is minds.com, like you said, a different way to think about social networks, crypto social, the future of social networks and how we're involved with it. A lot of fun stuff. I think we're going to be taking a quick break here, and then we are coming back with more. So wherever you're finding us, thank you for joining us. Drop in your comments, your suggestions, your questions, and we'll make sure to address those as we go through the show. I'm going to bring you up to date on some more news, some interesting stories that I found over the weekend that I want to make sure that you're aware of. And then coming up in just a little bit after that, we've got Charlie Joachim from the co-founder and CEO of Sezzle to talk about mobile payments and different ways that we can engage with that. So lots coming up. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live, and yes, we are live. I see everybody who's commenting on our different platforms that we're broadcasting live on. In YouTube, we're on YouTube Live, E2, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. You asked if we're live. Yes, we're live, so that's as close as I can get to giving you a shout out. But wherever you're finding us, we do appreciate it, like I said. So we're on a number of different platforms and digitaltrends.com/live, where you can join in our conversation there. Let's bring you up to date on a little bit more news. These are some things that happened over the weekend I want to make sure people are aware of, and it has to do with more future-oriented technology, definitely for the theme for this. This is something from Airbus. We know that a lot of companies are working on creating flying taxi services, be it autonomous or with an actual passenger. And one of those companies that's working on it, in addition to Uber and Lyft and so many different ones, is Airbus. And Airbus has a company called Vahana. And Vahana is working on creating an autonomous flying taxi. We've talked about them before here on the show. We've actually got some articles on Digital Trends about what they're creating. And they have what's known as a VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing machine. And this is their flying taxi service. And we've seen some demonstrations from it before, ostensibly how it would work. It's just like that, like you're seeing on the screen. You'd take it through an app, you make your request, they would direct you to wherever the port would be. Vertiport is what they call them, on top of a building. You go there, you hop in, and then it takes you on your way. These ones are designed to be without a pilot in them. These are designed to be autonomous. Whether that they take some steps to get there or not, we don't know. But as you can see, looking there, it's VTOL. That's what that stands for. And with that, because it is that way, they can actually travel a lot faster. So they're saying that these could be ready for single-seat aircraft production by 2020, meaning you would take a single-seat ride. It's just for you. It shows up. No idea how much that would cost to start off, but they do talk about where they see the cost going. But a couple of details of why this is an update from over this weekend is they actually demonstrated it flying. So they've shown it flying before, they've shown it taking off, they've shown it kind of hovering around, but this is actually having it go up and doing what they call a full transition. The full transition, it gets back to this. It goes up, and then those propellers shift into more of a plane mode, and that is what can propel it to a cruising speed of 100 miles per hour. So the actual demonstration apparently took place on May 3rd, but they didn't showcase it to anybody until over this weekend when they published the video. So you can watch it. It looks a little faint in the background there, and this is clearly where they were shooting it. They test these actually in Oregon. They're out of Pendleton, Oregon, which has a lot of wide open spaces kind of like this. So you can see it rising in the background, and then eventually it's going to switch, and you'll see it kind of come past the camera here, showcasing what we're talking about with that full transition. So while we're watching that, I'll just kind of give a couple of other details, just to show, because it does kind of go through. So if we can pull that video back up while we're watching that, I'll demonstrate, or I just want to give a couple of details on it. So the wing can come up, it rotates, and then you'll see it rotate, and then you'll see it come past the camera. So it'll be going at about 100 miles an hour is what it can get up to when it's going there. So again, slow video, but this is what they posted. Now they're saying the commercial model could be planned for sale by 2020. One of the other details on this is that they do say, I mentioned the price, that eventually they think the price, they can get it down to the equivalent of a normal taxi, which seems pretty amazing if they can get it down to that price. They're saying around $2 per mile is what they think they can get the price down. If they can do that, I'll take it every day. $2 per mile, yes, I will absolutely go on that. But that's what they're looking at. So again, that's Vahana, and they are owned by Airbus, taking a look at how they plan to bring about these flying taxis into our regular commute. Is that something that you would take? Let us know what you think. I want to know in the comments, wherever you're watching. Would you fly in that? I would, but I wouldn't be the first one. I'm not going to be the first one. I'm going to let a few people go first. All right, continue on with our news here for today. Bringing up to date on a few different things. This is one where I guess it's kind of falls under that category of robots taking our jobs, only this one is probably one that I think we're okay with. Has to do with a robot dishwasher named Dishcraft. And Dishcraft is now going to be available in different restaurants. It's a little iffy when we talk about it as a robot itself. It takes dishes, it washes them. As you can see right here, you can see it being loaded in. They it's like a standard kitchen, like a restaurant. And they take the big stack, they load it into the dishwasher. And if you've ever done this before, you know that it's a real pain when we're doing this. I believe we've talked about this with one of the comments on Read 'em and Weep before, but this is actually showcasing the video. And it takes the dish, scrubs it on both sides, runs it through, and then we'll actually dry it. It even does an inspection on it. And again, this doesn't seem like that would be that cutting edge of technology. If you're looking at this, you're like, okay, some of the things that we do showcase where it's wild new technologies. This seems fairly simple, but I'm telling you, this is pretty cool. This is something that washing dishes is a pain when you're in a kitchen. I've done it myself, and it's a job that I feel okay with the robots taking. And I think that's what it comes down to. I want to know what people think. Like, is this something that you are upset about? Do you think that that's something that we shouldn't be doing? I'm seeing some other people, going back to what we were talking about earlier. But that's what we're looking at. So this is, again, robots taking some jobs out of our kitchens, but I'm all right with this one. This is something that I think is what we've wanted all along. So to get back to the actual thing itself, they said that this is something that's going to be rolling out. They're testing it right now in a couple of different restaurants. No idea. I'm not sure what it actually would cost. But still, it's pretty cool, and I think it's something where we can use robotics to help out improve our lives. Again, you can take a look at that at digitaltrends.com. That's a dishwashing robot. Yep, that's what I said. All right, let's go to one more story here. One last thing, talking about robots taking our jobs. Let's go back to the kitchen with this, and this comes from MIT, and I find this to actually be a pretty cool project. It's called PizzaGAN. PizzaGAN, which is pizza And then the GAN, G-A-N, stands for Generative Adversarial Networks. And what these could do is, it's usually, this is the type of machine learning that you find in deepfakes. It's using augmented reality to study what's actual pictures of something and then draw its own conclusions and be able to manipulate that. So PizzaGAN is something that MIT created to analyze pizzas. What they want to do is they take a look at pizzas, and they've created this AI that can ascertain the ingredients involved in a pizza just by looking at it. So they fed it thousands of pictures, over 5,500 clip art pizza images, and 9,213 pizza photos from different social media networks using the hashtag pizza. They fed it into this algorithm. It took a look at it and then was able to analyze what was in each photo. What the ingredients were. They taught it what pepperoni was, what mushrooms were, what sausage was. And as it went through, it was able to then take layers off of the pizza. Because it had seen what, say, a cheese pizza looked like, it saw what a pepperoni pizza looked like, it was able to say, okay, well, we can take that off. That's the extra ingredient that went into this one. And knowing that, it could now, what they're saying that it can do, and you can actually test it out too on their website, is it can take a look at a pizza and it should be able to tell you exactly what the ingredients are in that. Now, what can you use that for? Well, looking forward, thinking about cooking, thinking about how, just in that aspect alone, it would be able to take a look at something, create an individual recipe for you, maybe eventually recreate it for you, just based on an image. There's a lot of applications that we're not even thinking of where this could go, but they wanted to prove that they could create this network that would be able to tell you what was in a pizza. And I think going forward, again, this is one of those things where this kind of thing could be the applications of this, of where it could go from there. They talked about applying it to areas like fashion or digital shopping assistants. You just show it a picture, it figures out what it is, figures out maybe the entire outfit of somebody, and then you could buy that exactly that. Just for a couple of different examples. But it's a pretty incredible demonstration of what they can do just by feeding this network all of these pictures of pizzas to where it can tell you what the ingredients are in that pizza. Kind of a fascinating study. You can check out more about that at digitaltrends.com. And again, just showcases where we're going with this. Things change fast. Usually I'm talking about weird, scary deep fakes, when it comes to these kinds of networks. This one's all right. It's figuring out how pizza's made. I think we can handle that one. So that's just, again, another example. Some pretty cool cutting-edge technology that we bring you up to date with here on Digital Trends Live. And we are live. We're broadcasting across a number of different networks. A lot of them. We're on digitaltrends.com/live, of course, where you can drop in your comments. But we're also on YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, all kinds of different places where we can take your comments and questions as they go through. So make sure you drop those in there. I'm Greg Nibbler, and we are going to be joined right now. We have on the line Charlie Joachim, the co-founder and CEO of Sezzle. Hello.
Hi there, Greg. How's it going?
Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us today. I love the oar in the background, the branded oar. Perfect. Now I kind of want one of those behind me. But let's talk about Sezzle and bring everybody up to date. You've been in this world of mobile payments and the ways that we transact, engage with each other with transactions for so long. But to give everybody just an idea, can you give a little bit of your background, and then we'll talk about Sezzle and some of the exciting things that you're doing right now.
Yeah, so my background, I've been an entrepreneur in the payment space for quite some time now, since 2010. Sezzle's my second company in payments. We founded this company in 2016 with really the mindset that let's change the landscape around e-commerce payments. And the data point that we basically learned over time is that young consumers in North America are really lacking access to credit. And so we built a digital credit product that has a bit of budgeting built into it. And we just recently expanded in Canada with this product. It's been growing at a fantastic pace in the US, and we really had a lot of pull into Canada. And so we're really excited about that launch and where we go from here.
Well, congratulations on moving into Canada. That's great. And let's talk about the product itself. And a couple of things you mentioned there, people having credit issues and being able to figure out ways that they can fund things and use online platforms in order to do that. So how is Sezzle able to do that? And from the back end, and then we'll talk about the user experience as well.
Yeah, so when you think about Sezzle, it's really think about like a payment wallet. So a user creates an account with us, they can check out with us online, but every time they make a checkout with us, we split a purchase up into 4 interest-free installments. So we take 25% at time of purchase, and then we split up the rest of the payments over bi-weekly payments, and that's the remainder of it, and they're all automated. Users can put payment methods on file with us. Everything is automatic for them and easy. And so for the user, we give them a little bit of purchasing power. And the reason this product is working so well is in the US especially, there's been some legislation around the changes in access to credit. Credit cards were actually, the legal age for getting a credit card was actually changed from 18 to 21. And you can no longer market on college campuses if you're a credit card company. And a lot of those changes were done for good reasons, because a lot of young consumers got into some credit issues and got balances they couldn't manage. But with our product, we changed that up a little bit, because when a consumer uses our product, we split it up and budget it for them so they can really get their plan in place. And then we also make it impossible for a consumer to get in too deep. If they're in a pinch point and they can't get beyond it, we actually lock the consumer out. And I think that's what a lot of consumers love about our product, is that we help them with budgeting. If they get a little bit overextended, it stops them and they can't go any further until they get past that pinch point, and then they can unlock it and get more access to credit. So it's a digital product, a digital credit product that's, we think, perfect for the younger consumer.
That's, that being able to lock somebody up. I mean, so many people get into credit card debt, especially when you're young, when you're in college, just getting out of college. It's hard. And so, and people don't know how to manage their money, and they overspend, and that credit card debt can chase you forever. So that's I think is great. That
and the bankruptcies.
Yeah. I mean, it can be really hard. So talking on that side, how you can divide up these payments. Now, can they build credit through credit rating systems, or how does that side of it work?
Not yet.
Okay.
But we really believe in this product being the perfect starter credit product for younger consumers. And so we have that in our mindset. We're currently looking at ways into which we can build in credit building, because we know that's an important stage for a young consumer.
Yep.
You've got to get into credit at some point. And if our product is the perfect product for young consumers, what better addition than adding credit building into our future?
Right.
And so we're looking into it right now.
And just learning and training on that as far as how it goes. So you said, using the product itself. Let's talk about that experience a little bit more. So paying online, how do they actually utilize it? You said it's the wallet. So can they go to basically any retailer? Are there specific retailers they're involved in? How does that work?
Yeah, so we're currently adding retailers as we speak.
Okay.
So it's like a new age credit card network. We've got to get retailers on board, and then as we keep on adding retailers, the product has more and more utility for the consumer. If you can imagine, you can only use a credit card at one location.
Yeah.
It's not effective, right? So that's really our growth plan as a company, is to get more and more retailers on the product, explaining to them the benefits. And the benefit to the retailer is really, we're giving these young consumers additional purchasing power. So these young consumers that used to have credit cards, they no longer have credit cards for a lot of good reasons. But the fact that they don't have credit cards means that they're not able to purchase as much with you as a retailer. So we re-energize that consumer's purchasing power with the product that's built right for these Gen Z and millennial consumers. And so that re-energizes their wallet, gets some more purchasing power, increases sales for the retailers. And then retailers see that and they continue to use us. And then we continue to add more retailers onto the network.
Makes sense. Talking about the expansion of where you're at right now, going into Canada, what are some of the key things that you're looking to accomplish there, or that for anybody who's in Canada right now is watching, what should they know about Sezzle?
Well, if you're in Canada and you're a consumer, come to Sezzle.com. First of all, you'll see a bunch of retailers that are already enabled, and the majority of them are U.S. retailers, but many of them do sell into Canada. And the reason we expanded into Canada is actually we have a number of Canadian retailers already on the platform that were demanding it. They were asking for us to add this product in Canada because they saw the benefit it gave to them in their US sales. So that drew us into Canada. That was really the impetus for the move. And the benefit with Canada and the US is there are a number of retailers that do work across the borders. And we just launched in April, so it's still early days, growing at a fantastic pace, but we'll be adding more and more Canadian retailers to the mix as we move forward here. So keep on watching Sezzle.com/stores if you want to check out our directory, and we'll continue to add more and more Canadian retailers to that mix.
I mean, if you launched in 2016, you've already had this big of growth. I mean, that's pretty amazing where you're at right now. Where do you see it going in the next couple of years? Do you see other products you want to add in, or is it really sticking to this principle of making it easier for online payments and building up a credit system?
I think everything we're doing is really focused around what we're doing today. It's this base product is really fulfilling the demand and the need of what we started out to do. But our mission is to financially empower the next generation. And that's why we're thinking about items like how do we build someone's credit score? How do we educate a consumer financially so they're making the right decisions with their next purchase or their home purchase or whatnot. So we're going to be feathering in some credit education, some financial education, some credit building product in our future. And I think that'll probably be the extent of our adding on, is really building around this base product that's working so well for us. And then that being said, once we get North America penetrated, we'll be looking to other geographies because we think that this product does have benefits internationally. We see some similar dynamics happening around the world, but the main focus today is on North America.
I definitely can see it, being transferable to another market as well. The way that you're building it. Well, it's very interesting. It's very fascinating in a really cool space to be in of what you've created for Sezzle. Now, if somebody's at home right now and they're like, okay, I want to get involved. I want this. They're in the U.S. or now Canada as well. What's the best way? Download the app. Go to the website.
Yeah, so I would really go to the website. So go to Sezzle.com. We have a directory right there. There is an app, but you actually don't need the app to transact with us. It's really a digital experience, a web-based experience. When you see us on a website, you'll see us in the checkout next to card option or PayPal, and you'll just see Sezzle as another option. When you see that option, it's really easy to sign up. It takes about a minute to a minute and a half for a first-time shopper to come through. And then at that point, you've got an account with us, and you can use this across all of the network of retailers that have us installed. And we really focus on making it easy on your next checkout too. So the initial benefit is that purchasing power, getting in and getting basically a credit product that adds budgeting built into it. But the additional benefit is that we make it easy for you to check out. If we recognize your device, we recognize your shipping address, we'll take you right to the end of the checkout. And so when you're shopping online with your mobile, it's just a thumb click away to check out.
And just boom, you're done. And you've got that those payment plans already worked out. Well, Charlie, really cool product, really fascinating. Congratulations on going into Canada and the expansion there. I'm sure that's very exciting. And it is. It's really, really cool. And again, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
That's so cool. So fun finding out about a different company that just started a couple of years ago and rethinking again the way that we make our payments, the way that we engage in commerce, rethinking all of that, and that's something that we're seeing more and more of here at Digital Trends and just in the tech world in general, is the way everything's transitioning so fast. So it's fun to stay on top of it, and that's what we try to do here at Digital Trends, is keep you on top of the world of tech and let you know the things that we think are going to matter in your lives. And we do thank everybody who's joining us on whatever platform. Just kind of recap some of the things that we talked about today. We had Hanif Jackson here in the show at the beginning, talking about, let's see, we covered the new Microsoft Surface rumors, the new laptops that may be coming out, the dual 9-inch laptops. We had Mike Massimino, former astronaut, talking about cookies in space. How cool was that? So you can check out that here in Digital Trends. Davin Matthews talking about the two lenses from Sigma. Bill Ottman, CEO and founder of Minds.com, talking about crypto social networks. And Charlie Joachim from Sezzle, the co-founder and CEO of that. I want to remind everybody that we also did cover the SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch is going to be happening in theory today. It's scheduled for, I believe, 8:30 p.m. Pacific today. And I think Digital Trends will also be having a live stream associated with that, or we'll share it. So make it easy for you to find. Hopefully that works out pretty well. Exciting stuff that we covered right there. Coming up tomorrow on the show, we've got Caleb Dennison joining us to talk about smart homes, talk about what's going on in the world of smart homes. There's a lot that's going to be happening with that, and I feel like over the next couple of weeks, there's a lot that's going to be going on with that because Amazon Prime Day is coming up, we think, July 15th. And when it does happen, we're going to have a 4-hour-long broadcast here from Digital Trends, bringing in our editors, talking about all the different products that are on sale. So we'll have a lot of info for you for that. But that's Caleb tomorrow, talking about smart homes. We have George Fox from Headcase, Sam Bobley from Acrolis. So a lot to talk about. And of course, all the news and everything else that's going on in the world of tech. And again, we're on a number of different platforms. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.